Good almost afternoon. I don't know if we're live. Are we live? Okay, thank you for confirming. I'm so sorry. I'm not the best with technology, but thank you all for being here. Welcome to the 11:30 session on landlord engagement challenges and opportunities. My name is Cheryl Belisario, and I work within the Office of the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. I will be your host for this session. So like with the other conference sessions, this session will be recorded and will be made available for viewing later on. So please put any questions or comments in the green chat by clicking on the Ask button. And you can also upvote questions on the platform if that question has already been asked and you would like to show that multiple people have the same question. So I'll be monitoring the chat throughout the session. So if you have relevant questions that come up during discussion, I will pose these questions to the speakers, but we also have about 10 to 15 minutes at the end for Q&A as well. So I'm very happy to be here today with three wonderful advocates. We have Kristen Alice from Hope Services on Hawaii Island, and we have Sarah Ironhill and Annie Ocampo from PIC's Landlord Engagement Program. So let's first start with some introductions from you all, starting with Kristen, then Sarah, and then Annie.
Hi, my name is Kristen Alice, and I'm the Director of Community Relations for Hope Services Hawaii. We are a homeless services provider on Hawaii Island, and I also am the Chief Advocate and Vice Chair for Community Alliance Partners, or CAP for short, which is our coalition to end homelessness here on Hawaii Island. Anything else?
Good afternoon all. My name is Sarah Ironhill. I am with Partners in Care Landlord Engagement Team. I spent the past 10 or 15 years heavily involved in volunteer work and also as an entrepreneur before joining PIC's Landlord Engagement Team in December of last year. And I just am honored to be here and presenting on this topic with these folks.
And hi, my name is Annie, and I'm for the Landlord Engagement Program and the co-manager for the program. I'm been in the social services for quite a while, and I'm glad to be here and share with you guys about the Landlord Engagement Program. So welcome everybody.
Thank you guys. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and we're going to have a brief presentation. Hold on one moment. Share. Okay, so first we will go through this slide deck and I will hand it over to Kristen to start us off. Hello, Kristen.
Hi, can you guys hear me? I just
Yes.
got a pop up that I have bad connection.
Probably me too.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. Give me a signal or something if it cuts out, and I will switch to hotspot. Okay. So hi everybody. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So we're here to talk about landlord engagement, but the way that we came to that, the reason that we need to discuss that is because of source of income discrimination. That's one of the very big reasons why we're here. So source of income discrimination happens when a landlord discriminates against a person based on where their income comes from.
Kristen? Yep. Are you there, Kristen?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Okay, can you hear me now? Okay, all right, sorry everybody. Okay, so source of income discrimination occurs when a landlord discriminates and decides they don't want to rent their unit to a person based on where their income comes from. And where we most often see this and what we're talking about today is the discrimination against people who receive housing vouchers, which is the majority of the people that we serve in homeless services who we're trying to get into permanent housing. So some examples of that would be, well, Cheryl's got some here up on the screen. This is how it manifests itself. If you have looked online for housing anytime recently, Facebook, Marketplace, Craigslist, realtors websites, you have seen some of these, I'm sure of it, because these are on the majority of posts that we see. So we have circled here on these ads that we pulled up, no Section 8, county housing not accepted, no county housing, that kind of thing. And so it's causing a big problem for our housing locators whose job it is to work with the folks that we serve and act as the liaison between them and the landlord, and introduce them to the landlord, take them on interviews, and basically coach the person as much as they need it about getting into housing and help them successfully get into housing, be a good tenant, and be a permanent, stay permanently housed. An example of this would be what's happening with a client that we work with. She has a voucher, but she was houseless for several years, and she had a voucher for several months, almost a year, I think. She searched and searched, applied to dozens of places, but nobody would even give her an interview. They wouldn't even give her the time of day. Some places she contacted and they said, you can't even apply. And as a result, she was on the streets. We're seeing this happening in our shelters too. So what happens, there's a ripple effect that happens when people are discriminating and the folks that need to get into housing and are ready can't get in. So another example is a family that we worked with. They had their voucher, they were staying in our family shelter, they had jobs, they had money for their deposit, the kids were in school, they were good to go, they were ready to be in permanent housing, and nobody would accept them. And so they ended up staying in shelter longer. And that means that people were on the waiting list waiting for shelter longer. And people on the streets were waiting longer to get into shelter and take their spot. So it becomes a vicious cycle where we have people staying in shelter who don't need to be there. And that's also, in addition to the moral problem caused by that of keeping people houseless and discriminating against people based on their income, we have the financial problem too, where the state and our funders are spending more money to provide homeless services for people who don't need them, who otherwise could be housed. So we have that problem there. Another issue is that this doesn't cut across society equally. And we often see it used as an excuse to discriminate against protected classes. So people of color and women, single moms, kapuna, people who are marginalized already are more likely to be utilizing vouchers. And so while it's illegal to explicitly discriminate against those folks, this is a legal way to do it. And whether it's intentional or not, it is having an unequal impact, and it's further segregating our housing. Another example is what's going on at my apartment complex. So I live in Hilo in an apartment complex called Waikea Villas. The majority of the units here were recently bought up by a real estate investor trust. And they're called Tower Development, and what they're doing is kicking out my neighbors and raising the rent and telling folks on Section 8 they are not welcome to reapply. A lot of folks were sent this via text message and in the middle of the pandemic. So this gentrification is happening all around. Just today, my next door neighbor is moving out and he's not sure where he's gonna go or how he's gonna handle where he's staying. He's a disabled senior veteran, doesn't drive. And this is one of the few places on the Big Island that has services within walking distance. I have another neighbor who's a senior in a wheelchair. Again, one of the few places with things within that are accessible for somebody in a wheelchair. Paved here, it's easy to get around. Where's she supposed to go? We have families with children who have to leave their school district and their friends, and there's not a lot that's affordable out here. So this is some of the impact. These are the people that are being hurt by this. And it has come to a head. This is the number one issue that I hear from our housing team, is that landlords are simply choosing to discriminate, and that doesn't have to be the case. So the legal status of source of income discrimination, we tried last year to get a law passed that outlawed it. And unfortunately it failed, although it passed, I believe, several committees. I think there was one left that it would have had to go through before it went to a floor vote. So it's been outlawed already in at least 13 other states and several cities. And so we're trying to get the state of Hawaii to make it illegal. While the law is part of it, and having a mandate that would require people to treat people on vouchers the same by at least giving them an interview, while that is half the battle, that won't fix the whole thing, right? We have laws against other kinds of discrimination, but we all know it still happens. So the other factor that we really need to address is changing attitudes and showing people, hey, people aren't bad people just because they're on vouchers. Everybody's heard the story about the friend's friend whose tenant trashed the unit because they were on Section 8. And that seems to have become almost like reality, even though it's, even though it's not reflective of the entire population. You'll have people who will trash the unit in every stratification, every economic stratification, and you'll have people who are great tenants in every economic stratification. So the other half of this, we got to change those attitudes. And I'm really pleased to share that there's some folks on Oahu who you're going to hear from next who are doing some great work to engage with landlords. And I think we can all learn something. So I'm happy to turn it over to Sarah and Annie now.
Thanks so much, Kristen. I just wanted to offer an overview of what the Landlord Engagement Program is before we go into some details regarding specific client and landlord barriers or misconceptions, as well as some of the solutions that we are utilizing now, as well as some strategies that we hope to implement in the future. The Landlord Engagement Program is a City and County of Honolulu funded program that was established in 2019. The program was created to assist in bridging this gap between tenants who were in need of available units, clean and safe housing, and landlords who had an excess of vacant units. And so we do this by offering supportive services and incentives to landlords in order to create these relationships that we need to work, right? So we have case managers who assist clients in their relationship, and then we have landlord engagement folks who assist landlords or property managers and really build that relationship. This is leading to the creation of a positive inventory in units in an area where the demand generally is far exceeding the supply. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Sarah. So talking about, client challenges. So some of the rental, discriminations as far as, even accepting Section 8 or rental assistance. I'm sure you guys have come across when you call an ad and it usually says no Section 8 or no rental assistance. A lot of the landlords don't really know the difference, and they just immediately say no, or they have like bad experience with both of the assistants. So just want to talk a little bit about like the application barriers that clients do come across. as far as like background checks, rental history, credit scores, the application fee. Some clients don't have the fundings for those. And when they do background checks, a lot of our clients had a lot of violations, just different criminal backgrounds that they come from. They might have just got out of jail and they need a place to stay immediately. Rental history, right? Not really any rental history, so that's kind of a lot of applications that our clients do put in. Mostly don't fill those, parts out, but that's okay because we have different solutions to engage the landlords. But even with like the credit score, some people don't even have credit score as well too. Um, and having adequate documentation as far as their ID, social, those are the kind of documents are hard to get at the time, especially during COVID time. Um, but there are agencies or property management do take just the copies of it, and so those are kind of like the little bit of the solution that we'll talk about later on in the slides. But just the vulnerability, just a lot of those kind of barriers that kind of discourage clients to even apply because they already know, already have a background, or I don't have rental history. So those are kind of barriers that we try to advocate for our clients when they're applying to these units. Oh yeah, next slide.
Some of the landlord challenges that we see on that side, a lot of misconception, honestly, regarding housing assistance programs, whether that be rapid rehousing or Section 8 or short, medium, or long-term housing assistance. It's really quite a mystery to many landlords. So it seems to be the easier answer to say no to all of them broadly. We have heard when calling and kind of inquiring deeper into why folks are not willing to accept specific housing assistance programs or Section 8, that we've been able to really dig into a few of the common misconceptions. One is that the inspection process of the unit would be too lengthy, and that varies. We know that with certain inspections, there is quite a long wait time. Other programs don't have that. So there's really nothing that's across the board as far as how long an inspection will take. Many landlords are looking at these opportunities through the lens of a financial perspective, right? This is their investment. How quickly can they get folks in? Not having vacant units equals losing money. And so being able to pair with landlords to shorten that inspection process whenever possible is helpful. Unit qualification standards. So different programs, again, have different qualification standards. Some programs require certain zoning of homes while others do not. There's a misconception oftentimes about the houseless population in general. Some landlords who have not worked with housing assistance programs before are concerned that when they learn someone who is experiencing houselessness is applying to the unit, the automatic image that they get is of some of the more severely mentally ill folks that we see around. They don't want those people in the units often. While we all know, because we're in this service provider industry, that these folks, everyone is deserving of housing, oftentimes people who have especially shorter term housing assistance do not fit into that stereotype at all. So educating landlords regarding who it is exactly that we'd like to put into specific units and why. A big one is lack of landlord support. Who are landlords going to call when something goes awry, should something go awry? And then a big concern regarding the protection of their property. So again, this is an investment for many folks. And the misconception that Annie and Kristen both spoke about earlier in regards to how will the property be protected? What happens when someone comes in and destroys the unit and then the landlord's stuck with fees and damaged property? Next slide, please. That's you, Annie.
Sorry, I was pressing my mic. So just talking about the opportunities and what we can offer to these landlords so they're more acceptable to the house's population or just our clients in general, the clients that we work with. So the landlord engagement program, you know, we offer damage mitigation funds that we can cover secured property damage that supersedes the security deposit. Another good thing that our landlords really love is the 24-hour support line, because just like Sarah said, there's no support for the landlord when they do have complaints or any concerns about the tenants that we house in. So that really helps, and they really like the fact that we act quickly to those phone calls to kind of, you know, deal with the issue right there and then. So they really like the fast response in answering the phone calls. And just working together and collaborating to kind of resolve the issue or the, you know, whatever the problem solve the difficult situations that do arise when we do house these clients, because they're going through a very major transition into, you know, their housing, and those are the more critical moments that that can help the clients go through that, being a good tenant. So those are some of the types that I really love, is to offer the case management that comes with the services that we do provide. We found that that's very helpful. So they have someone to contact, and also to have the case managers, you know, address these issues with their client and help them transition into being a good tenant and following the household rules. And then some programs we do offer financial assistance, like this whole project that we're working on, the Oahu Housing Now. That helped us a lot, and it was a really big project. We thought we could do it, but we did it. We're still trying to do it. So that really helped the landlord for that support. And then just ultimately making those, you know, building those relationships and partnering with them to build that rapport with them, so they have that that trust that, you know, they will be taken care of as well as the tenant. So we're kind of like the mediators for the tenant and the landlord, which they like, because then they, you know, some landlords are new to the program and they don't know what to expect. So when we walk them through the process step by step, they're better understanding what the program does and how can we support them. And they really like that. So we had a lot of new landlords that we do engage that are brand new to, like, they're kind of like, oh, what is this? So so that's really great that our team is able to connect with these landlords. And it also helps them eliminate the cost of advertising their unit. So sometimes when we do build that rapport and have that good relationship with them, they end up calling us for units to be filled. So those are the kind of things that really help and support our program to really see that it's working. So the next slide will show you kind of like the success of how our program is doing.
As I mentioned before, the landlord engagement program began in November of 2019, so we're just over 2 years old. Since that beginning of the program, we've increased the number of staff from 1 LAP to 8. In fact, we just hired 2 more yesterday, so I had to quickly send a note saying, change the slide, 1 to 8. We have LAP specialists who are assigned to different subcategories. So we have 2 veteran specialists, thanks to a grant from Kaiser Permanente. We have a Windward Oahu specialist through the Castle Foundation, and then we have 2 landlord engagement specialists specifically for Oahu Housing Now. In the past 2 years, we have partnered with 122 landlords. We've collaborated with over 15 homeless service providers with a goal and where we have come is that we have actually put over 220 individuals and over 260 families, which equates to over 1,125 literal people into clean and safe housing in the past 2 years. We have, in the past 4 months, doubled the work that we had done in the previous time of the program, which is really fantastic, and that's due in large part to our growing team and capacity. And these numbers in all fronts, new landlords, new service providers, and more individuals and families into housing is increasing weekly. So we're very proud to do this work and thankful to have so many partners alongside us as we do.
Okay, I'm just going to switch over to show a short video clip. If there's any issues with the sound, just let me know.
In about 6 months. Oahu Housing Now, or OHN, is a multi-agency project in the city and county of Honolulu, Hawaii, with the goal of housing 300 households in about 6 months in 2021. The community had been housing about 17 to 20 households per month. To meet the goal would mean tripling the pace to housing about 50 to 60 per month. The rehousing team knew that business as usual wasn't going to be an option if they wanted to meet their goal. They decided to use housing fairs, which bring together staff from multiple agencies out in the field to quickly get lots of individuals and families enrolled in housing programs, collect their documents, and have them apply for apartments, often all in the same day. The team also knew that housing fairs would build a sense of urgency and excitement among providers and clients, leading to the increased pace needed to meet the goal. The following video shows highlights from the first OHN Housing Fair, which took place in early May 2021. At the time, the COVID pandemic was creating unique safety challenges that the team had to account for when designing the strategy, since pre-COVID housing fairs often involved centralizing staff and clients in a large single site. After an intensive period of planning, the fair was conducted in 5 different sites over the course of 3 days, with strict COVID protocols in place. Post-COVID, the same multi-site model could be used or adapted to new conditions. The fair was conducted in 5 different sites over the course of 3 days. At each site, incoming clients went through the same process. First, they got checked in to confirm that they had been referred to the program by the coordinated entry system. Next was program enrollment and the collection of key documents. Finally, clients worked with staff from the Landlord Engagement Program to select a unit from a pool of housing identified prior to the fair and to complete the unit application. To ease the transition for every newly housed individual and family, OHN wanted to ensure it could provide a welcome kit of starter supplies and essential items, including toiletries, cleaning products, linens, utensils, cookware, and paper products. Providing these kinds of supplies goes a long way toward helping set new tenants up for success in a house that feels like a home. Since the cost of these items could not be covered with the funds being used for rental assistance and services, the team launched a donation drive and appealed to the community for help. At the first drop-off day, the team gathered to collect community donations. To make drop-offs easy and safe in the midst of the pandemic, donors popped their trunks and drove around to different stations manned by staff and volunteers who removed the items. The team also scheduled home pickups from people willing to donate furniture. Teams of volunteers helped sort and arrange donated items into welcome kits that were ready to be delivered. Once the housing fair ended, OHN staff immediately switched gears to focus on move-ins. Within days, clients had begun signing leases and getting the keys to their units. The team came together to deliver mattresses, furniture, and welcome kits to make sure that units were ready for immediate occupancy. Case managers joined clients for the lease signing and initial unit walkthroughs and will continue to provide supportive services to help each individual and family stabilize and thrive in their new home. For both clients and staff, move-in days were filled with joy, excitement, and new possibilities. The OHN team will repeat the housing fair process regularly through the end of the year, helping hundreds of people experience the same opportunity to move quickly into a new home.
Okay.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Oh, thank you guys.
Can I speak on that really quickly?
Yes, please do.
Yeah, thank you. We wanted to share that video from Oahu Housing Now Fair in this platform because we really felt like this was, certainly for us, a new way of doing business, right? We had essentially, and prior to this, been moving people in and engaging landlords as needed on a one-by-one basis. And never had we had the opportunity or really need to create this mass unit acquisition. So the landlord engagement team for a week or two prior to each of these housing fairs that we conducted through Oahu Housing Now did a mass unit acquisition where we engaged and collected roughly 90 to 100 available units of different sizes in different areas of the island, and then had that available for clients to choose and work through as right at the intake. So as soon as they came into intake, they transferred over to a landlord engagement specialist who then helped them to apply for housing right then and there, which allowed the clients, I mean, we saw move-ins within a week or two after the housing fair of mass scale. So we feel like at the landlord engagement program and as a team that mass unit acquisition is not only helpful but possible, and that it will be one of the best strategies moving forward to get a massive amount of folks from across the island in different programs into housing quickly. And one of the ways that we will be utilizing that mass acquisition apart from housing fairs, if that is an opportunity again, is through a unit inventory database that will operate similar to like a Zillow, but it will be only of units for that are pre-negotiated that have been acquired through our program and are listed for service providers to run through that list of available units that we know accept housing assistance. And it'll save a lot of time and get a lot of time for housing providers, housing locators, and really narrow the time from folks looking at units to getting into clean and safe housing. So that's an exciting piece coming up.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Yeah, so we're gonna get into a bit of a discussion now, and I'll try to also, as we go along, pull out some of the questions from the chat. But first, just wanted to get a bit of more information on some of the work of how you work with clients who have multiple barriers to housing, and tell us about some success stories of individuals and families getting into housing and successful landlord-tenant pairing. So you can share some stories from your experience.
Yeah, I can share a little bit. So for the ones that have multiple barriers, we like to request from the case managers or like a point of contact, maybe like their service provider, someone that they're working with for a while, and they can provide like a characteristic letter. That usually helps a lot because it tells a lot how is the client getting back into the community and what is their, what are they doing um, to make themselves better. So that's kind of showing that they're trying and they want to change the way they were before. So that really helps. And then we have landlords that, really compassionate about helping the population. So they would just say, hey, and they trust our program and they worked with us before. So that kind of helps too, building that rapport and relationship, and actually, trusting our program that we're providing the services that we are saying that we are doing. Can help. And some of the landlords would just say, well, just give me their names and put them on the lease, so they can be housed, the same day. So so we've done a lot. I would say a good success story was yesterday. I guess me and another team member, we actually housed two of the most difficult clients yesterday. So I see that as a success story. And they just had multiple barriers, and sometimes the clients can be, picky on which or where they want to live or what they want in the house. They they want the backyard, they want they want, pretty much everything. So and a lot of the this population, they have, pets, right? So pets is a big one that we see that some of the landlords don't accept, but most landlords do. Some of our properties that we do have engaged do accept. So and then the ultimate thing is that they're just worried about the dogs damaging the property, right? So the mitigation fundings really, really help advocate for that. I sometimes have the landlord waive those, pet fee that or pet deposits, because that we can help cover the property damage. So they really want, like that idea. Sarah, do you have anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think I'll elaborate on two of your points, Annie. Thank you. The damage mitigation fund, I want to talk a little bit about that, because the program, as I mentioned, has been in existence for 2 years, but we've only had to utilize the fund 3 times, despite housing, over 500 households, so 500 units, and of those 500 units, only a handful, 3, have needed to utilize the damage mitigation fund. So when engaging with the new landlord or speaking with the new landlord, we're able to share that, and that information helps to really clear up that misconception that everyone who has housing assistance is going to destroy a unit. That's data. The data doesn't support that. So it's a helpful piece of tangible information that we share with landlords to change that mindset. And then regarding the character letters, that has been probably one of the most useful tools that we have available to us. Honestly, not all clients will be able to utilize or attain a character reference letter, but for folks who are able to do that, we have seen clients get into housing the next day because of the character reference letter, and the landlords are specifying that that's the reason why. We have landlords that we work with who we already know will ask for a character reference letter, and then we have some where we're just rolling the dice, right? We don't know. But what the character reference letter does is brings back this piece of humanity to the clients. So when landlords receive an application, this is a black and white piece of paper. They see a criminal background on there. Sometimes it's extensive, and that is very easy to just pass by and say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in that kind of person, right? When the application is accompanied by a character reference letter that is showing what steps clients have taken to change the course of their life, it really does bring back this element of humanness that we as social service providers kind of intrinsically know and feel, but that landlords who are not familiar with working with the program or working with folks in our demographic range understand. So that is something that I would highly encourage any folks who are working in housing to utilize that.
Thank you, guys. So there were some comments regarding like how we can communicate even more. I know like especially you know through LEP on Oahu, and then all of the providers across the state, you know, have very good strategies for communicating with landlords and bringing more landlords on board. But one of our attendees here brought up the fact that, you know, maybe like communicating about the realities, for example, about like actual rent standards charts for Section 8, because sometimes, you know, landlords might think, oh, you know, it's going to be way less than I would be able to charge to someone else. And someone else brought up, you know, maybe having meetings to be able to educate landlords could help to realign landlords to accept rental assistance. So just wanted to see, you know, to better understand your strategies for connecting to landlords and how to educate them, and how maybe we could look to even better educate, you know, on a wider scale as well.
Kristen, I don't want to take away if you have anything to say.
No, I just think that's exciting what you guys are doing, and hearing about the good comments and good ideas in the chat. I like that. And if you have more ideas, I'm talking to the attendees here, everybody, put them in the chat and share. And also, if you want to get involved, reach out to your local Continuum of Care coalition. So for us on Hawaii Island, that's Community Alliance Partners. I'll put my email in the chat so that you can contact me if you're interested in getting involved and helping out with this. And you can email me too if you need to contact someone from other islands, and I'll see if I can put you in touch with them.
I'll touch a bit on the comments that were made regarding connection with landlords. We have been in the recent past meeting with the National Board of Realtors to local chapter to discuss possible partnerships and educational opportunities for landlords. So that's in the works. We have some really positive feedback from some of the folks there who are working on kind of a more public campaign to inform landlords of to clear up some of those misconceptions and recruit a larger number of landlords.
Thank you. Didn't want to cut anybody off. If anybody else is gonna jump in? No. Okay. So there is a note as well about that a program similar to landlord engagement program is needed for other counties, and this has actually come up a number of times. I know that advocates on Hawaii Island we're talking about it. Advocates on Kauai we're talking about it. So it's possible, and LEP definitely serves to kind of help the overall system on the island. Let's see, another. Sorry, this is another LEP, I guess, specific question. But one individual works for a service provider organization and is wondering if staff from from her organization would be able to connect with LEP to be able to provide support in housing their clients if they're having difficulties.
Absolutely. Yes, please.
Right.
You can put a formal referral in to request services from the Landlord Engagement Program via our website, which maybe Cheryl, you could put that in the chat.
Sure.
Partnersincare.org, and then under housing, and then under LEP agency referral.
Yeah,
We would
definitely.
Yeah.
The more, the merrier we can get them off the streets, for sure.
So now I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I guess ask you to talk about maybe some challenging scenarios, especially if there was discrimination involved that you encountered in assisting your clients, whether this is source of income discrimination or discrimination against already protected classes.
I'll share. We had in the middle somewhere of our mass unit acquisition prior to one of the housing fairs for Oahu Housing Now. We had an advertisement in the Star Advertiser, I believe, and had landlords, kind of seeking new landlords for this opportunity. I will say that Oahu Housing Now offers financial incentive to landlords, which has been a huge reason that we've been able to have this increase in housing, because the financial incentive is a big deal. Most programs don't offer that. So that's been a big draw. So that part, is clearly laid out in this big ask in the Star Advertiser for landlords who are seeking, who have available units. So we touch base with each of these landlords when they call or email, and essentially sell the program, explain the benefits of the program, and so forth. And I was speaking with one individual who was very interested. He had a property that he was very interested in renting to our program. He had an understanding that the folks that we were going to put in were people who were currently but not chronically experiencing homelessness. And then asked if he would be able, if he would have a say in the tenant that he selected, which absolutely. We have multiple tenants or multiple clients who are putting applications in for a similar or same unit, and the landlord gets to choose who they would like to have in the unit, of course. He then proceeded to say that was great to hear, because he would not be accepting any Micronesians. Period. I let him know that was not something that he could discriminate against fair housing rules to do that. He proceeded to let me know that he was the owner of the property. He could do whatever he wanted to do, and that he wouldn't have any Micronesians in the unit. So we ended the conversation rather quickly. After that, I let him know that it was indeed against fair housing laws for that to happen, and then just took his name down as a potential to report to housing authorities for that discrimination. Unfortunately, that is a class that we do see discriminated against quite broadly. You want to share anything, Annie?
Yeah. So same with criminal backgrounds, right? They're, landlords choose who they want. They're like, no, we don't want sex offenders. No, we don't want like assaults or domestic violence, or any other violations that they experience. You have seen a lot that are because of this pandemic, I've seen a lot of landlords kind of backing out, because a lot of them are facing a lot of like rental arrears and not paying their rent since the pandemic has happened. So that's kind of like a challenge for us to kind of advocate, because they feel that, oh, okay, so what's going to happen after? Those are the questions that we always get when we're trying to engage the landlords. Those are some of the questions. Well, what's gonna happen? Because they're scared. They don't want to go through evictions. They don't want to go spend lawyer fees to get the tenant out. So some of the strategies that we have done before and what we, said to them before, we can help, help our clients transition out of the unit by doing like a mutual rescission. Those are the kind of
Oh, you're muted.
so yeah, those barriers are quite real, and we call like 30 to 20 landlords a day, and it's we get quite a bit of rejections because of what they've experienced before, just with like property damage, uh not responding to like this infamous landlord. He calls every time we put up an advertisement, and we're like, yes, we explained to you before. And so it was unfortunately a vet was staying with him, and in the beginning he was saying, oh, I'm gonna be the best tenant and I'm gonna be really good, and then at the end he caused a lot of noise disturbance, foot trafficking, um people coming in and out of his place. And this landlord wanted him out so bad that he tried to call the HPD. HPD couldn't do anything about it because it's a civil case, and there it's unfortunately that he didn't have that kind of support from us, to help him. So now he doesn't want to rent to any housing assistance or any program at all. So we have some of those landlords that come across.
Yeah, Kristen, you want to share?
Yeah, I have another example of discrimination that's a little bit more it's insidious and it's a little more under the radar than the straight up blatant examples that we all heard about. This one involves the company at my apartment complex having leaf blowers. So we have gas powered leaf blowers. The guys come and use them 3 or 4 times a week. And I have video of them blowing nothing or going to the pool and blowing water. And we have, so I believe it's a tactic to try and drive people out. One of my neighbors, one of the first ones to receive an eviction notice during the pandemic, is a disabled veteran with PTSD. And he lived here with his wife and their daughter, who was about 5 years old. And he couldn't sleep. He was waking up in the middle of the night and it was exacerbating his PTSD. And it impacted his health so much. And he asked and begged and requested that they would stop, and they didn't, and it still continues. I saw them this morning doing that. So there are other, aside from the more blatant examples, there's other ways that they are trying to maybe work within what's maybe technically legal to drive people to leave, to make it unlivable here. And I do believe that's a form of discrimination against the folks who have those conditions that exacerbate them.
Kristen, I see that too, like a lot of our complaints are coming from neighbors, and some of them are specifically targeted towards, the clients that we do house. And already they have that prejudgment, or they've seen them, right, when they come out of their unit. I've seen this a lot, that, all these complaints are from, the neighbors or resident managers citing them for every little thing, like can't have visitors, like, I know sometimes that might be a lot, but that sometimes I feel like they have rights to have visitors, you know? And some of the citations are kind of ridiculous, and that's where we come in and try to advocate for them. And it's really sad that other people try to sabotage each other just because of the way they look. Already they have that prejudgment on them, for sure.
Yeah, we have those two kind of citations for every little thing that are unfairly applied, and some of them I'm like, is that even a real citation?
Yeah, so I know we're almost at the end, but I do want to ask one last question. So, I just wanted to ask you guys to kind of highlight, I know it's been discussed, but highlight some of the huge housing opportunities that we have right now, and opportunities, especially, with landlord incentives, as well as some additional potential solutions that you see on the horizon for some of the issues that have been brought up here. And also, if Sarah and Annie, if you can also mention if someone has a client that might fit for OHN, for Oahu Housing Now, where should they, who should they get in contact with, and where should they go?
So all Oahu Housing Now clients are referred through CES, prioritized and referred through CES.
So, so for housing opportunities, in addition to Oahu Housing Now, are there any other big things on the horizon? Maybe from other federal monies coming in for vouchers, and also, is there any maybe legislation that we should be looking towards for next session?
Yeah, pay attention for the source of income discrimination bills. I don't know what those will be numbered yet, but keep an eye out. Get in touch with me, Cheryl, Sarah, Annie, and get on our mailing list, and we will send you alerts when we need your testimony. We got to have you folks come testify, especially if you're a property owner and you've rented to somebody who is on Section 8. Come and share your experience and tell them how it is. That's something we're looking forward to. We're also hoping to have a vacancy tax, see that on the slate, as well as rent control. So looking to the future, there's a lot of potential and a lot of possibility for ways to make Hawaii affordable for the folks who live here, because no one is free until everyone's free, and unless you're mega super rich, you should be concerned about the status of your housing as well, whether you're on a voucher or currently experiencing homelessness or not. But I really appreciate you folks coming here and chatting with us and letting us share with you what we've learned through this process. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. I'm gonna put in the chat. I think I'm going to put in the chat a link to our landlord engagement page through the Office of the Governor's Coordinator on Homelessness. Basically, this is a page that it has work from so many providers across the state. It includes video interviews of 2 current landlords, including one from Hope Services on Hawaii Island, as well as a homeless individual with a voucher on her search for housing, and a formerly homeless individual who was housed because a landlord accepted his voucher. So additionally, you'll also find a presentation to Aloha United Way from October on that page. And it goes more into depth about different efforts on not only Oahu, Hawaii Island, but also Kauai. So please return to the main conference page to find links for the remaining sessions. And thank you all very much for participating and being here, and have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for the comments. Thanks for coming.
Bye.
Bye.